Man, stop being a little punk. Yeah, I said it, but I said it with love. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings here, but sometimes we need to hear it. You know you do. I don't want you to go and unsubscribe from the podcast. Actually, drop a 5-star rating, leave a review if you enjoyed it. It would mean the world. But today I gotta virtually slap you, man. Gotta wake you up, but it's for your own good.
The Creator Podcast.
My name is Dion Williams, aka Dion Does, and I truly believe that we were all created in the image of the ultimate creator, and therefore it's in us all to create. And this show aims to help you and I both level up in this 4-dimensional game of life so that we can go out and create for good, whether that's for ourselves, our family, the community around us, but all of this a part of a generational vision of a family of creators coming together to be the difference. Let's be the difference, creator family. Y'all should know what I'm talking about when I say that. If you have gone to freecreatorcode.com, picked up that code, and you are doing your darndest, doing your best to try to live that boy out. It's not going to come overnight. In a lot of ways, it won't be easy, but if there's one thing I can promise you, it will be worth it. If it isn't, you get your money back. And if you couldn't tell by the domain, it's free, creatorcode.com. So I'm going to give you every cent you gave me for it. Now, today I got to be careful, man. I'm going to say every episode is like the key. In different ways they are. But we also got to understand a lot of us as creators, we're all in different areas, different phases. For someone else, one thing that I talk about, right? Maybe episode 4, light switch went off. And for you, you were like, ooh, that was a good thought. I'm going to take action. I'm going to meditate on that. But it wasn't like the breakthrough. And then for someone else, it will be. And so that's kind of what I'm getting at. And I've been blessed to be teaching a lot of this stuff I've been teaching a lot. And a lot of it has been, some of you guys have followed me for years on more of my entertainment side of things. And so y'all didn't even know your boy was cooking like this. Didn't even know your boy could drop a daily podcast. A lot of the stuff I'm teaching you guys is, I got a lot. I got a lot of content. So that's why I had to do this as a daily podcast. But I also want you guys to be reaching out, man. I'm getting all the feedback that you guys are loving it. You guys are getting a lot out of it. Let me know what you want to hear, though. You know, if you have questions or certain topics that you want talked about. We're going over faith, relationships, energy, economics. There's not much that we can't touch. You know, as long as I got 2 cents to add and something to bless you guys with, I want to jump on it. But, you know, maybe there's more. Maybe there's a certain section that a majority of you guys want to hear from. Let me know, and we'll make that happen. But today, it's a big one. It's a major key. It's such a key that we do it every single podcast, right? We talk about taking action, and that's what we're going to talk about today, but in a little bit of a different, we're going to talk about it from a different angle, and that's getting you to stop being a little punk. I know I came at you aggressive in the intro. That ain't how your pastor talk to you. That ain't how your mama talk to you. Maybe if your mama's like my mama, your mom might talk to you like that. Fun fact, speaking of not being a punk, this is how I grew up. I can usually tell how old, we moved a decent amount, so I can usually kind of have an idea of how old I was and what grade I was in based off of how old I was. But I don't want to lie. I was in elementary school. I know that for sure. I think it was later elementary school, like 4th, 5th grade. And my mom had just bought me this new water gun. This is actually when her and my dad were together at this point. I had just got a big water gun. And it was one of those cool ones where you had like the backpack and then the tube came to the gun. So you could just like soak ninjas forever. I actually got it. So we had like a big our whole block had a water balloon fight. And then it kind of turned into like water guns. And I didn't really have a good water gun. And I was begging my mom, like, yo, my gun sucks, man. These guys got these crazy bazookas. And I had one you had to like squirt. You had to like pump and then squirt after every shot. It was like pump, squirt. And it was like, that's a little sissy water gun. And everyone had better guns. And so I begged them for this jumbo water gun for the next block, water fight. And they got it for me and we never did it again. We did like little small thing. Like I used it, but there was never that major all out war again. So that sucked. But I can remember a time. It was me and I was playing with two of my friends. They were older friends. They lived right next door. And I think they lived with, I don't even think it was their dad. I feel like it was their grandparent or something. And so they were kind of wild because like the grandparent wasn't like strict on them. And so, but they were my friend. They were my homies and they were older. And they took my water gun. But it wasn't like they took it out of like force. Like they saw it. They was like, oh, that's nice, man. Let me mess with it. I was like, yeah, go ahead, try it. And then a while went by and I was like, hey, okay, come on, man. Let me get my gun back. And they're like, yeah, in a minute. Just hold up. And they was playing with it. Wasn't even really including me in it. I'm like, dang, man. Like, come on, man. Give me my water gun back. And they just wouldn't give it back. They kept having excuses. So I was pissed. I was angry. And you know what I did? I went and told my mama. I said, Mama, they not giving me my water gun back. And I don't even remember exactly what she was doing, but she barely gave me any attention. And she was like, yo, number one, you better stop crying. Number two, I spent a lot of money on that water gun. So you better go get your water gun back. And it's almost, I had to be in when the street lights was on. She was like, it is getting dark. If you come back in and you don't have your water gun, I'm spanking you. Basically, my mom said, stop being a little punk. Go get your water gun. That's what I did. I went. I was like, give me my water gun. And they wouldn't give it back. And I punched the dude. I punched the older dude right in front of his brother. And he's like, ooh, okay. He took my water gun off and gave it to me. It wasn't even a fight. Because he knew. I think he felt that he felt that punch power. He's like, I don't want none of this smoke. Right? But I was afraid. Because they were older, they were in middle school, and I wanted my water gun. But my mom was like, don't be a punk. I don't know. That was a bonus story. That's not the we're not talking about punching people. That's not what I'm getting at. But what I am getting at is that feeling that we all feel at times where we want to take action. Maybe is getting your water gun back, but you're a little afraid. You're in what I call limbo. And just limbo is a state. I'm not talking about limbo with the stick in the game and you go under it. I'm just talking about this feeling of uncertainty where you don't really know what's going to happen if you take action. And when there's uncertainty is like the breeding ground for fear. And you want to start taking note of how you see yourself react when uncertainty hits. Most people, they just default to fear or panic, and they kind of become more reserved, and they don't take action, right? They'll be paralyzed with that fear. And what I want you guys to consider is that maybe you're in a state of limbo right now. As we pull out our creator frame and we're looking at our faith, our relationships, our energy, our economics, the 4 different dimensions of life. I like to re-explain that every now and then. For those of you guys that are daily listeners or previous students of mine, you're like, Ninja, I know it, front and back, the free system, creator frame, I get it. But we have new people joining, and they may not have gone back and done their homework. So I always want to re-explain it really quickly. We call it the creator frame, aka like the frame that we look through as we're looking at our life. And we look at life as a 4-dimensional game that has the dimension of faith, which is anything that you live that's bigger than yourself. For me, that's Jesus Christ. You have R, which is your relationships, okay? Your relationship with yourself and those around you. Your energy is your health and your fitness. And then your economics is your money situation, your ability to understand it, to generate it, and manage it. And so we can use that to kind of, when we're feeling uneasy in life or frustrated about something, and sometimes you just feel like you're stuck, you're in a rut, pull that out. It's in one of those 4 areas, all right? And if you have one that's off just slightly, you might just feel like something's off, nothing too crazy. If you have one that's really low, right? And you can always just grade yourself on a scale from 1 to 10 in each category. You have one that's low, like 1 to 3, 1 to 4. You probably got some significant pain or stress in your life. But when you start to see 2, maybe even 3, or even worse, all 4 of those areas really low, you're in a depression. You need to start working. And you can also use this frame, though, to work yourself out of it. I always like to start with faith, man. And we'll talk about that in a future episode. Just really being, you're only as strong as what you put your faith in. That might have to be the next one. That might, because I almost want to segue into it, but you can use this frame to help you out. So we look at the 4 dimensions and just consider, man, there's probably some limbo going on where you know you need to take action in the area, but you're procrastinating. And it's usually from like uncertainty. If it's something that you're doing for yourself, right? If you got a school paper, maybe you're just putting it off because you don't want to do it. Maybe you shouldn't even be in school. I'm talking about college. But when it's something like maybe maybe you want to ask someone on a date. Y'all can't date right now on a lockdown. Maybe I want to, you want to Skype a Netflix session. I don't even know what that looks like. Maybe you want to start a business. Maybe you want to start your new diet or working out. And sometimes I found out you just got to tell yourself, stop being a little punk. And this is how I talk to myself. This is how I talk to my team. They'll tell you, we'll be in meetings or we'll be talking about something. I'm like, oh, okay. Sound like you be a little punk about it. Because that's our tendency. It's our survival mechanism. That fight or flight system. When there's that uncertainty, we're like, let's just play it safe. And if y'all notice, we don't play it safe around here. In the last couple months, we've done some pretty cool things. And there's a lot of times, because we are always trying to overachieve. Like, we did a documentary. We ain't never did a documentary. Not even close. I just woke up one day. I was like, hey, yo, I really think we need to do a documentary. And my team looked at me. And they're like, okay, that's kind of wild. Some of them didn't even get a chance to look at me. I just sent like a message over Voxer. And they were like, where did that come from? We never done a documentary. And I was like, so stop being a little punk. Let's do one. And we've done it, and it's since blessed thousands and thousands of people. I remember my wife, before we got together, we were best friends in high school. And just before I was going to move from Arizona back home to New Mexico, basically her best friend, who got sick of her saying that she secretly had a crush on me. I just thought we was friends and homies. But her friend basically told her, you know what, Jasmine, you got to stop being a little punk. And she told me. And then a series of events led to us obviously being where we're at now, married, coming up on 10 years this year, 4 kids. She had to stop being a little punk first, though. I can think of all of the businesses that we have now. At one point, I was afraid. I was worried. I didn't know it was going to work. But I had to just throw myself out there, take that first step. I'm almost thinking like if you're skydiving, which I probably hopefully never do. That moment where you're looking over the plane, man, you're like, do I want to? Maybe I don't. I don't know. And then your instructor, whoever might have to take, come on, stop being a little punk, and you just go. And I know I had that moment. It's actually funny. I believe the ride is called the Leap of Faith. You can look it up. We were in Dubai at Atlantis. It's like a little water park. And there was this ride called the Leap of Faith. And it's like this steep, like, slide. It's to the point where, like, if you're sitting on the slide and you look straight, you just see earth. Like, it doesn't, like, slowly go down. And you can be like, okay, that's how the slide works. And then it turns. No, it's just drop. And then you go under, like, a water tank with sharks and other fish. And that's not scary because, you know, you're safe from them. But then you come out to like a little pool. But it's that drop. That drop is crazy. And I remember sitting at the edge of that just panicking. And then the instructor said something behind, like the dude that he's not an instructor, but the dude up there like kind of facilitating the line. He said something that was a nice way of being like, yo, we got a line behind you. Stop being a little punk. And I went, and it scared the heck out of me for a few seconds. And then when I got to the bottom, I was like, yo, that was dope. And my wife would tell you, I did that thing like 3 or 4 more times before we left. That was my favorite ride, and I loved it. But I didn't know I loved it when I was at the top in limbo. Right? I've sold a lot of things online. I remember when I was first going into it and I was first leaving my job, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this make money online thing. I started and quit like 8 times in 1 week. I just didn't know that I could do it. I was like, maybe this isn't for you. You need to stick to what you know. And thank God I have a wife that told me, you got to stop being a little punk. If you guys have been rocking with me for a while, I had a website, Madden Mastermind. It was teaching people how to get better at video games, at a football video game. And I didn't think I was good enough to launch the site. I had it done probably for months before I even launched it. All the stuff up there, just when it was time to hit go and time to launch it and time to make things happen, I would lose a game of Madden and just give up. I'd be like, oh, I'm not good enough. It ain't gonna happen. And I finally just had to launch it because my wife just kept asking me about, like, yo, when's it going? You said it was good to go. Like, I had to stop being a little punk. So what is it for you, I ask? As it's time to put some feet to it. And again, if you're new around here, what we mean by putting some feet to it is just putting it in action. Taking action on the principle that you learned today. And today was the powerful principle of not being a little punk. Because if we submit in that state of limbo, we're not going to get anywhere. Some of the biggest and best things I've built in my life, like I told you, my marriage, which is the foundation for all of my kids, my business, moments in time where I had to literally get over that fear, that water gun moment of, man, I really want my water gun back, but them dudes is bigger than me. They taller, they have reach. And we think we always think in the worst case, like, I might get jumped. The water gun ain't that dope. But it wasn't even that deal. One hit a quitter, bow. I ain't drop him. I don't even know if I moved him that much, but he saw I was ready to fight for what I wanted. And he fell. And a lot of times, that's all we need to make the difference, is just to show up and watch the fear and watch the enemy flee. So as I drop the beat and I get real serious on you, when you look across the creator frame, faith, relationship, energy, economics, what area are you in limbo? And you know you being a little punk. At that point, the answer is simple. I'm not going to have you do a 3-step process, an 8-step checklist. Just stop being a little punk and do what you know you need to do. You could have 10 years of marriage plus, well, we're going to go longer than 10. You could have a lifetime of marriage and building a family with the partner of your dreams on the other side of you sending a text message. Technology done got easy. You don't even gotta call them no more. Sliding in the DMs could change your life. But here's the thing too. Let's talk about the other side of it really quick before we get out of here. I'm not going to lead you guys into a place where you think that as long as I take action, it's always going to work. Sometimes there's a ripple effect. I done failed at some things that led me to my biggest success. And sometimes it's you not being a little punk and taking action and failing and skinning your knee or getting rejected and realizing that it's not that bad. It didn't hurt like you thought it would. And you learn the lessons and you gain the momentum that then leads to the breakthrough. So maybe you gonna slide in the DMs and you gonna get blocked. And then you gonna recover, you gonna check yourself like, okay, I got no marks, no hole. Oh, wait, that didn't hurt. Maybe it was a little embarrassing, but no one really knows. And now I don't have to live with regret and when wondering what if. And if I realize I could survive this, I could survive doing it again. And next time it might work. You know what's funny? Man, what is this dude's name? I forgot this dude's name. And I only went to college for 1 year. But he was one of my dudes for this year. I didn't hang out with him too much because he was a little crazy, but he always had stories about how many girls he was with. And I hung out with him enough to know he had like no game. He was kind of funny looking, man. His eye did this weird, like, it wasn't like a lazy eye. I must say, he was kind of funny looking, man. Borderline ugly. If there's like a level in between ugly and funny looking, that was him. God loves him, but let's be honest, he was a little funny looking. But what he was so good at, and this is actually something that he taught me just watching him, is like, he did not give a fluff about no. Like, no would not stop this dude. And he would he would go out and talk to so many girls that eventually someone would say yes. Maybe they were inebriated. They were under some sort of influence. They weren't fully, maybe the light was low and he didn't look as funny looking, but they would say yes. And so he was messing with a lot of girls, but it was just off of sheer volume. I've literally watched him get rejected by someone, turn around, take a few steps, and then talk to another girl. And he was just like, yo, eventually it's gotta work. And he was able to get results in his life simply by not being a punk. So what could you do? Maybe you just gonna build some tougher skin. Maybe that you don't hit the jackpot this time, but I'm not looking for you to hit the jackpot. Okay? There's so many lessons in the L's, and that's probably another episode, another topic for another episode, another day. But I love you guys. Again, the message of today: stop being a little punk, man. Your future depends on it. On you manning up, womaning up, and doing what you got to do for yourself, your family, your future family. So I love you guys. Your boy Dion Does signing off of the Creator Podcast. Please leave your boy a 5-star rating. Go ahead and drop here's my goal. We're at the time I'm making this, we're at like 500 something. I think like the mid to high 500s in reviews. Let's get this boy. I want to get 1,000 reviews. There's not a lot of podcasts that I listen to, even some really, really, really good podcasts. They don't hit 1,000 reviews. I know people that like love the podcast, live by the podcast. The podcasts have changed my life for years, and they haven't hit 1,000 reviews. I would like to see the Creator Podcast, now in 47 countries, hit 1,000 actual reviews. So if this is blessing you, if you could take the time to just drop that rating, leave a small comment, maybe sharing what the podcast has done for you. I've read every single one of them. As me recording this, I promise you I've read all of them, and they make my day. So if this podcast has ever made yours, you can make mine by leaving that. Also, check out freecreatorcode.com. I love you guys. Until tomorrow, God first. God bless.